What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to talk about risk tolerance. And that'll be interesting to hear Maurice's thoughts and Fosco's thoughts and my thoughts on risk tolerance. I think everyone's is completely different. So this topic's going to be interesting, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, risk tolerance, I think, is at the basis of any human being getting what they want in a professional sense. You cannot go and get big things if that's what you're after, if you're not willing to put your nuts on the table. That's straight talk. And I think giving it a little more contextual fabric and getting deeper into it is really going to help the listener.
Yeah, I think that once we just start to break this down and to give context around risk tolerance and to give examples, because I have a few examples myself that, the listeners may be able to take away from. Yeah, I just can't wait to unpack this deal.
Did you say contextual? What'd you say, John? Because that sounded smart as hell.
You like that? Contextual fabric? You like that?
Contextual fabric.
I saw a lot of fabric yesterday. I was in a local Hobby Lobby, and there was big things of fabric. So I was thinking about context, and then it flashed in my brain that there was fabric everywhere. So I said contextual fabric. You like that?
I do like that.
Okay.
Mo. It's brought to you by CommonBond. Let them know, Mo.
CommonBond. CommonBond is the only place to refinance your school debt, which most people have. And you can go and do the refinancing of your debt at commonbond.co/biceps. On average, they save people who apply on average about $24,000. So take the 10 minutes, go into your information into commonbond.co/biceps, fill it out, and get refinanced.
Mo, killing the game.
We're
going to keep it over there, Mo, and head to Fosco's world because he's had some epic worlds recently that Mo was scared to repost. Mo was scared to repost
planets. Do you think Mo was scared to repost it?
I consciously, not scared, I consciously didn't repost it. And I told Cory, I said, I have all women that work for me. I got women who invite me to their schools. I got women who invite me into the drug courts. I got women everywhere. I said, if these people don't listen to the whole episode, this moment can be taken out of context. So I can't.
Yes.
I can't.
Here's the feedback I'll give you, though, which is funny about that, because a lot of people, I got a lot of action. There was a lot of action on our page. I did not get one negative comment. It was all positive comments. And I would say 5 of them were from females. So that shocked me. Yeah. But I completely understand your decision because it was my decision to say those words. So.
Here's what I'm going to point out, and then we'll go to Fosco's world. It was way easier for Mo to post about how he sold crack.
Miss Lonnie. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hey-oh. I got a lot of people who work for me. Hey, so at 11 years old, Miss Lonnie's, yeah.
All right, it's time for Fosco's world. Go ahead, Mo.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so hailing in from the windy city of Chicago, where I looked on the internet last night and looked at some property to invest in. And there we go. And it came up that Donnie Fosco owned the whole block.
Yeah, we can negotiate. He's
the landlord. But I can't wait to get this thing kicked off. Standing at 7'3" today.
Fact.
I'm proud that we're recording. Can't wait to hear what you got coming to the stage, my man Donnie Fosco.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I do hear the audience clapping, and I thank the audience in advance.
Come on, Jeremy. There we go.
Thank you. I don't think it's Jeremy. I think there's actually an audience now. But we're gonna get into kind of my thoughts, or people could say, listeners can say, kind of Fosco-ness. My thoughts versus my behavior. And Cory threw a point into our text list about, is it okay to handle people in the workplace aggressively and with, let's say, a yelling tone in your voice? So the way I kind of process that is, okay, so the way I think let's say there's an employee who's just got a soft attitude or has a me first attitude and doesn't check their personal emotion at the door, I think in my head, this is like that, you're a bit like, you are a fucking bitch, you're a pussy. And I try to like unpussify that employee through leadership, right? But the whole time I don't tell them they're a pussy. Right. So these are kind of like the filters I'm talking about. So as I try to unpussify an employee or anyone I'm trying to lead, none of that vocabulary, none of that fire, none of that anger at times, none of that frustration, that doesn't translate into how I communicate in a professional manner to people. What people get a look into on this show, what I think is kind of special, when we all look back on it, they're really going to get a look into how we really think and how we kind of act unfiltered. But when you take, let's say me, for example, who I think people can understand, can get very fired up and very just twisted up over certain things, disrespectful things. That is not my behavior. I want to make that clear. That is not my behavior on a daily basis. If that was my behavior on a daily basis, whether it be in the workplace or out of the workplace, or this is for anybody really. This isn't, I'm just using myself as an example. If that was my behavior, I would never, ever, ever be able to succeed or climb a ladder or ascend or continue to have continued success, because what you hear when I'm unfiltered, right, off my rocker, those are my thoughts, right? And I'll never apologize for my thoughts, because discipline comes in when it's like, okay, I'm looking at an employee, I'm looking at someone I lead, I'm looking at whoever, and I have those thoughts. Those are real, what you hear out of my mouth. But the discipline is the filter. That you cannot lambast someone. You can't call them a soft fucking pussy and get the fuck out of my face. I'll fucking slap you in the head, you little fuck. You can't do that, right? Because number one, it's inappropriate. And number two, it's not effective. So when you're trying to work with people, you have to use your filter. You have to use your filter. And just because, this is where I think it's tricky for people. Just because you have a position of power and you can do things, right? So technically, I can talk like that. But just because I can doesn't mean I should. And I want people to understand the adverse effects of it. So if I were to talk like that to people, let's say employees, people who work for me, they're not going to be as motivated. They're going to be scared shitless of me. And some of them already are. But what I would say is they're never going to be able to perform at their full potential because they fear this fucking monster, right? So like, that's not the first thing they would think of when they come into work is not how can I attack my tasks and kill my job so the team can win. The first thing they would think is like, I don't want to get run over by this motherfucking freight train. And I know through experience that doesn't work. And I lose in that situation, because when you're in a leadership role, my benefits, my growth as an individual and as a businessman come from stewarding people below me. So in short, if you have a short fuse like I do, if you think in a very intense manner that, let's say, does not transfer over to most people's thinking, that's okay. But just learn the value of filtration, because power or no power, that kind of communication does not resonate with people. It scares the living shit out of them, and it actually pulls potential away from them. It doesn't pump them up with it. So if that makes any sense, I simply want to clarify, what you guys hear versus how I actually act in a business setting.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I'll tell you this, that I ran into that deal. So naturally, my mentality or the things that I think about when I'm thinking about business are a bit more aggressive Coming from an athletic background, everything is aggressive when people are interacting. And for the most part, everything has been aggressive, be it from prison to my neighborhood to athletics, and everything has been straightforward. So oftentimes when I would get into the to leading people, I used to believe that I can just deliver a straight message, and I was like, "Oh, this is easy because they understand exactly what I'm talking about." Right? It wasn't until as time went on, I started to realize that I can think as crazy and as aggressive and as wild as I wanted to, but having the ability to deliver a harsh message or a firm message to people, it took a lot more skill than what was expected. And you're 100% correct when you say you get more out of delivering a message the right way to other people and doing right by it than you do with browbeating them. Because everybody isn't fit or equipped to take something stern and firm. There is a small select few, usually people who come from athletic backgrounds or have something to do with athletics. They can take something a little bit more firmer, but the average person can't. And so that was kind of like I was, as you were talking, I was thinking about just my struggles when I first started as compared to now, where I know how to deliver something harsh, or I can kind of select who can take a harsh message and who can take something a little bit softer, and I do the adequate thing and push the message on to them.
Yeah. So when I put this in the group text, Johnny, I got one other question for you. Was I always want, because I think people that know you know that or work with you understand that there is a top that'll blow off. Now, do you show that? They might never see it, but they know it's there, right? It's obvious,
Sure,
I think.
sure. Yeah.
And so for me, a part of my thought process when I put this in the group text was like, that's only happened where the top has blown off from me personally a few times in the office. And I almost was happy it did, just to show that I had it.
Yeah.
But part of me wasn't proud of it. So part of
Yeah.
my question is it good to show it at times to let everyone know that that is possible, or is that just never good? I think that was part of my thinking. Does that make sense?
Okay. It makes total sense. And to answer your question, I think the answer is yes. I think it's good to make an example of people who deserve to have an example made of them. So if someone's out the door, right? If someone has continually, let's say you've continually communicated with them in an appropriate way, and they keep fucking doing the same shit that brings the morale of the team down and does not uplift the team, and you've given them warnings to make an example of them so other people are aware that I will not be walked on in my house. What that does is that makes people just know the fucking score. Like this dude is going to support me. He is going to give me all the tools. But if I cross him in a disrespectful way, it's something that I should appropriately fear, because he's pouring everything he has into me. And if I disrespect that, motherfucker, a hammer's coming. I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy for a child to know from a parent. I think that's healthy for an employee to know from a leader and or a boss. I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. And I actually subscribe to that program, if you will.
And that's how I parent too. And it's very similar. And that's why I wondered if that's the way you thought. I figured it was, but you also out the gate command that more because of your personality. So I didn't know if that's like, you know what I'm saying? Where mine doesn't.
Yeah.
So I feel like I almost have to, like, I don't try to do that, but when it happens, I don't usually the next day think, oh, I wish that didn't happen. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't know. It's an interesting thought process, but
yeah, no,
cool.
and I appreciate you digging into that, because that's why I feel very misunderstood. So just because I look you in your eye and talk without a smile on my face does not mean I want to behead you for doing something at work. But a lot of people aren't used to that directness. So they walk out of the room, feel like, oh, fuck, that motherfucker's going to cut off. No, listen to my words. Don't interpret my emotions in whatever filter you want to run it through. Like, that's another takeaway for people who aren't aggressive, who feel a certain way. Listen to people's words. Don't feel what's inside of them, because you don't know what's inside of them. And that's where people misunderstand me. They don't hear my words, they hear my tone. And my words are the facts that I'm stating, right? And I'm never going to lie, and I'm never going to not be direct. So for the guys who are aggressive, you have to learn to find a filter. And for the guys who are not aggressive, or gals, you have to learn to listen to the words, no matter how they're delivered, because the words are what you need to work off of. So with that being said, let's make our way to Cory Gregory.
All right. Thank you, John. Great segue. Feeling good that we're back on the mics. Really look forward to this. And I was thinking about some of the things I've been studying, some of the things that have come through the group chat, and something that really, really came up this morning in my mind. You know, I talked about that meeting David Goggins, which was really cool a couple episodes ago. And I've been listening to some of his stuff. And here's something that's kind of came across my plate recently is I've kind of upped some intensity. We'll talk exercise specific type stuff now, because I think it's a lot of people can identify with that, is pushing through the barrier, you know, going past the mileage that you don't want to do, the days when you don't want to, you know, go at all, those type of things, right? Those are all like little mini wins and little ways to kind of challenge yourself. And I started listening and studying some things on the sympathetic nervous system, it's called, which is your fight or flight essentially, right? And the way Goggins kind of explained it is like, you'll have these 1 seconds where that the first thing that you think about is giving in, quitting, stopping, whatever. And what he explained, and I really like this, and I wanted to get your guys' take on it, is and I'm looking at an exercise standpoint. You know, I was doing 800 meters of lunges, body weight. It's difficult. It's consistent, but it's hard. Well, I started adding, you know, holding a 40-pound barbell over my head, doing that for 50 meters, racking it in a front rack for 50 meters, and still doing 800 meters, which is fucking hard, to be honest with you. When I'm done, I am fucking smoked like I never even did a lunge before. And it's really challenged my mental capacity during it to just keep going, because no one's watching. I'm just doing it by myself. I know I want to accomplish it. But what he was saying, and this is kind of my point, it's long-winded, but is that second where you want to give up, that's where you need to shift right to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of your life potentially that you can rely on from your past that you got through that was way fucking harder than that little second where you're trying to give in like a little bitch, and it just clicks in, and it almost like stimulates a way for adrenaline or whatever the epinephrine, whatever the hormone is, to kind of push you through that fight or flight, where it's the fight, not the flight, right? The flight is the quit or the run. The fight is stay in it, stay in the pain, keep moving, push through, which once you work through, you can almost always do. And so I think it's just an interesting kind of thought process I wanted to bring up, because it's easy to understand an exercise. Oh, you're doing 100 reps of something, you get to 50 and it fucking burns like a motherfucker, and you got to get 50 more without stopping. You have to go to that dark place they call to put your mind somewhere to work through it. And I think a lot of people maybe never on a regular basis push themselves there. There's a lot of runners that do 50, 100 miles, crazy type shit. But I just think like that point in general of pushing yourself past that barrier, what you rely on, I think is an interesting topic. And I really just wanted to bring it up and see if you guys had things that you do either naturally like this or that you do on purpose.
It's funny you bring that up, because last night I had literally the exact incident you describe involving fitness with mental barriers involved. And okay, so last night, so I have a very tweaked left bicep right now. I have either a dislocated or a broken thumb, and I just refuse to stop working out. Now, there's certain things I can't do. I tried to grip a dumbbell the other day and it really fucked me up. So I said, you know what? The one thing that I do that I enjoy doing is farmers carries, and I normally do 200 meters with 35s. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm gonna do 45s. And last night I'm going around the track and I did a lap, with 45s, 200 meters. And right when I got to the end, my forearms are burnt, my traps are fucking burnt, my shoulders are burnt. Like I started, and there was like 2 other dudes on the track. I started screaming literally with my headphones in. Like, I started screaming, who are you, John? Like, who the fuck are you? And my answer to myself is, you're not a little fucking bitch. And I started screaming, what have you fucking gone through? Like, you are, if you fucking drop this weight, that's what I'm thinking. That's why I started screaming, who are you, John? You're not a fucking soft pussy. You've been through 8 million times worse than this. So what I decided to do after I did 200 meters with 45 pounds, which is 90 pounds, I decided to go another 200 meters without a break, which is something I've never done. And I couldn't feel my forearms. I couldn't feel anything. And I just wanted to prove to myself that I was John Fosco, that I was me, that I was who I thought I was. And I could tell you that last 200 fucking meters, I couldn't feel anything. I felt like I wanted to fucking throw up. I started getting dizzy, but I made it through that fucking finish line, dude. And it's funny you bring up going in your past. When I just started literally screaming, I wish someone could have recorded it. Who the fuck are you? All I'm thinking about is my past and what I've endured. And literally, if I would have dropped those fucking things, I would have been betraying myself. It had nothing to do with fitness. It had everything to do with proving to myself that I am the guy that I think I am. And I think that's one of the fucking gifts that fitness gives to people. And you could draw a parallel to business is like, are you going to fucking quit when it hurts and when it makes sense to quit? Like, I accomplished it. 200 meters is what I wanted to do. I went 400 and I couldn't feel anything. Everything fucking hurt. But it was like I found a part of myself and I proved to myself that I am John, and the guy you hear is the fucking guy I am. So it's funny you just bring it up because that happened last night, and it was really it took me back to my childhood, dude.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you all can go on my Instagram a couple of days ago and see when I posted a picture of me basically being in the courtroom when I was getting incarcerated. And that's the exact moment that I was thinking of the other day. Like when I told Cory, I got so much going on with business. And at times when I feel like discouraged or wanting to give up or just wanting to say, fuck it, or things may seem like there's an insurmountable task. That's the exact place to say, man, you made it from this shit. You made it from this shit to the point that you are right now. And if you would have put on fucking paper that you would have been where you're at right now when you were in prison, it wouldn't even fucking seem possible. And that's the place that I derive my strength from. And I tell myself, if I can make it through that shit, and if I can make it, where I'm at right now from there, 1,000,000%, like I can make it through anything that I'm fucking going now. And what that does, it just adds like different perspective towards what I'm going through. I go from victim or I go from this weak mentality or this, just through the day. I think like everybody's battery starts at 100%. And then what happens is just the day kind of beats you up and wears you down just because you're tired and you're ready to go to sleep or you're just tired, just mental fatigue. And it's things that just power you up. And going back to that place when I was incarcerated and when I didn't have anything and I was fighting to get out of there or fighting to stay sane in there, it's just an experience that you can't buy anywhere. But I guess that's my place and I use it all the time. So David Goggins is right in that. I think he's a mentally tough guy. And I think that, just that technique within itself is powerful because it's like the self-actualization technique where you're actualizing and speaking to yourself and being aware and becoming fulfilled all in one. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
And I think you can get so dialed in with it, which is what I'm attempting to study more, is to where you actually feel it, Mo. I think that's where you actually can mimic the feeling of you standing in that fucking courtroom when that picture was taken. And I think that's the deeper level of it. Or John has an area of what he made through when he was a kid that he feels that exact emotion, and then the pain goes away.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I don't even know if I'm I don't know if I doing this stuff on purpose. I'm not sure if it was just like something that I picked up on, but that dude is a mentally tough motherfucker from what I see online. You know what I'm saying? And you just don't derive that shit from nowhere. I think you talk yourself into so many different scenarios. It's only so many people who even like not even black or white. We're just talking about human beings who go through that SEAL team shit. You know what I'm saying? And to endure all of that shit, like you just have to mentally go to different places that just your average guy is not going to, and you have to find reason for doing that shit. And those techniques, just like John said, can be used because I use them in business. You know what I'm saying? Just to mentally
100%.
be tougher in regards to what I'm doing.
Love it. All right. Well, it's great. I was really looking forward to your guys' kind of thoughts on that. I couldn't wait to bring it up today. So that's kind of wild how all of us have kind of tapped into that just in the last 48, 30. I mean, that's how it always is with us anyway.
But I think like if you're pushing outside of what you're currently doing, there's always going to be a moment. I don't give a fuck who you are, how fucking tough you think you are. There's always a moment where some sort of doubt slips in, and you got to get it out, and you got to unroot it because, like, that shit can overtake your attitude. It overtakes like how you like make moves or who you talk to or how you talk to people or how you motivate your teammates. How do you motivate the staff? So if John doesn't believe something can happen in fucking South Carolina and that's projected to Jeremy or whoever, whatever staff members are down there, that's the shit that's what's going to resonate or take over the moment. You know what I'm saying? So having that personal stuff to take that shit out your brain and having techniques is of significant value.
Yeah. Unbelievable. All right. So good job, guys. I think it was cool. It's time for Mo's got an eye patch on.
Yeah.
Hey. Boot that guy today, dude.
It's time for the pirate. It's time for the pirate. Do the drop, Jeremy. Let's go.
There we go. Yeah. So today we're on the assumption/communication program, right? And just to the listeners, I know I love to tell you all because I get a lot of feedback on it in my DMs about exact situations, right? And recently I had a situation where I was assuming, right? And it was really a humbling thing, right? So I had this deal that I was working on, and in the process of working on the deal, and this is of great value to the listener, right? How you can make an ass out of yourself by assuming, right? So I was talking to a guy about a deal that was going on, and me and the guy was talking. We was talking through the deal. He was giving me information from his perspective. I was asking questions to become more clear about what was going on and so on and so forth, right? But in the process of that, he had talked about a conversation that he had with another person that I'm acquainted with, and the conversation that he had with another person seemed a little bit uneasy to me, right? From basically him telling me what was going on. And so immediately I start to like inquire or think to myself, like, man, like how could this guy be doing some underhanded shit or kind of trying to work two deals at one time? And I'm assuming that this is what's taking place. And sometimes when you start down a rabbit hole with your own thinking, you assume that everybody thinks like you or everybody has the same thought process that you have, and you begin to put your thoughts on other people. And so I was with the guy for an entire day, not the guy who I was assuming about, but the other guy who was talking about the deal. And it was just a whole conversation. It was, we were going through our business and going through the day and having a good day, but still in the backside of my mind, I was creating this whole story in my mind about how the other person landed at the place that I thought and I assumed that they were at. Right. So immediately when I get done with that guy, I take a break. I say, okay, let me get about an hour. Let me collect my thoughts. Let me figure out how I want this conversation to play out, or how I want to come and ask something, but I don't want to be very offensive in asking. Right. So let's go ahead. When I get this guy on the phone, let's go ahead and chat. But then I'll get to that place without seeming like in an accusatory way. And so as we start talking, and as I got to eventually to the place inside the conversation, I let the guy talk. And oftentimes, what I've learned that if you just let somebody talk, eventually they'll talk long enough and you kind of hear where they're at, where they're coming from, or their perspective, right? And so we began to talk, and this guy's going on. And as he's talking, I humbly and had to respectfully say to myself that this guy, when he did what he did, he wasn't being malicious. He just was operating up under the way that he thinks, right? And so inside the conversation, I had to say to myself, like, damn, Reese, how many other situations have you blown up on or accused somebody of doing just because they don't think like you and you assume that what they're doing is malicious and you label it malicious, right? And I had to take that out of my brain and communicate that to that guy because I felt like that guy deserved for me to be honest with him. And I said, yo, bro, at the top of this conversation, I didn't think that, that was your angle. I thought that this was malicious. I thought it was underhanded. I'm so used to dealing with people who are selfish and so on and so forth. But after I kind of like just talk out and hear your perspective or hear your point, like I can see how you got to the space in the conversation to ask that dude what you asked him. And now, would I have asked those questions and gotten to that space your way? No, but was your way wrong? No. You know what I'm saying? And was my way wrong? My way is not wrong in the conversation that I had with God. And so I learned at the end of the conversation, even as a 35-year-old adult, that it is extremely healthy not to make fucking assumptions. Like certain ways we just have to check ourselves on. And I said, you can't just give somebody your line of thinking just because you assume that just because it's not thought out like you or it's not your thoughts that basically they're trying something malicious. It's best to communicate, find people's perspective and where they're coming from or how they got to that space. And then you can go back and forth and deal with the situation based upon facts. And so I said to myself inside that situation that this would be of value to the listeners on this podcast because I'm pretty sure that we all end up in situations where we're doing something with somebody and it may be a third party speak, like it may be, we may be all inside of a social setting, a business setting or whatever it may be, where everybody's giving their perspective on something and we assume that somebody else is thinking something. And instead of assuming, I think the healthiest thing to do is to, instead of guess and instead of making guesses on on what you assume somebody is thinking, to be able to have a conversation. And then once you get the facts of a situation, then you can navigate, but you have to be humble enough in that situation to say, yo, fam, I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? You have to say, yo, I fucked up and basically gave somebody the wrong line of thinking or gave them credit for some shit that they didn't deserve. And that's just like my 2 cents on assuming. And hopefully, we can all get out of assumptive ways of thinking.
Yeah, assumption in business it's a recipe for disaster because you're not dealing in the space of reality. You're not dealing in the space of facts. You're dealing in the space of like fucking wizardry in your own head, right? I mean, it's like literally, it's like I'm a wizard in my head. I have this crystal ball. Well, no, you don't, motherfucker. You don't have shit. So stop trying to think. And I'm not talking to you, Mo. I'm just speaking in general.
No, I get it. Totally
Yeah, stop. Yeah,
yeah,
Mo's a wizard. Stop trying to fucking think that you got the crystal ball, you stupid fuck. So what you do, okay, I was told this at a very young age, and when you assume, right, you make an ass out of you and me. That's why it's ASSUME. But the way to get around assumptions, and it's natural to assume. But again, here comes the filter, right? Especially in business. It's like, imagine a dartboard. It's like, okay, if you're assuming something about somebody and you think you might be onto something, start asking questions on like the outer ring of the dartboard, right? The center, the bullseye is fucking coming straight down the middle with that fucking, right cross, which you can't do. But start asking questions around that outer layer of the fucking bullseye and then just work your way in slow and carefully and don't let another human being know that you are thinking that they're doing things that are malicious. That's why I always say that my favorite word in the English dictionary is why, because why breeds understanding. So if you are seasoned in business, or even if you're not, if you ask profiling questions, you'll be able to figure out, if you have half a fucking brain, if someone is up to something malicious. You just have to know how to sit back with a poker face, not let them know that you're onto anything, and just pick away at them like a fucking crow picks away at fucking worms. Just pick away at them with questions. But I think we all get the crystal ball mentality in our fucking head, and we think we see it. But like that's sheer ignorance. I've done that, and all it's going to do is get you in trouble. because you'll find out through a series of questions, if they're carefully asked, what the real truth is. And yeah, you may be right. You may be right with your assumption, but most of the time we're not right with our assumptions. And that's why they're assumptions. That's why they're not reality.
Let me tell you like this. I was 100% wrong in this situation. And after the guy spoke and talked, it like further gave me the idea to like, I said, yo, I'm a fucking nut. Right. Like I just told myself like, but it asked me even deeper, like, the mistrust, the mistrust of people being done wrong, the selfishness, the like that dog eat dog mentality. I've been around it my whole life, and oftentimes you'll give people those thought patterns. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not the only person.
You're projecting your own feelings and your own traits onto someone else. And I'm not calling you a selfish person or this or that, but I think it's very human to take our own traits and almost subconsciously not even be aware, but we put them on other people because we think, well, this is how you think. Well, no, it's not how you think. It's how I think. It's how John fucking thinks. It's not how that guy thinks or Cory thinks or fucking Mo thinks. It's how I think. And to assume that someone thinks like you do is almost funny, because we all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences. We all have different people we do business with and talk to on a daily basis. I literally have not met another person who I could say identically thinks like me. So to think that someone is thinking like me is just a little bit out of touch. And again, Mo, I'm not roasting you because I've done this many times.
I don't take anything personal. Like, so the whole thing, man, and this is for the listener, the whole thing is to cleanse yourself, right? Yeah. Like we're all going through this process of trying to like become righteous in our thinking and to be a little bit more humane and better. And as we grow, we're supposed to get wisdom and just become more purified. But bringing my problems or issues to the platform is to raise a level of awareness in a guy who may have been through, be it traumatic events, be it some broken relationships, and understanding that shit bleeds into other areas of your life. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And there's 1,000 guys out there on this phone. If I got into everybody in this office and talked to, like, so if you've been done wrong by women and you have another woman who reminds you of the woman that you were with, and she starts to like do something that you assume, if you don't have a conversation or communicate about what you're feeling, you're going to assume that she's doing the same thing if the other girl had done you wrong. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And so going through all that trauma and working through it and working through all that bullshit is important. You know what I'm saying? In order for you to like work in a factual space in business. And I think it's the same thing for every listener. Like everybody's problems are relative. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I didn't let Cory say too much, but I don't know if
hey guys.
Yeah, we have a third host. Sorry,
you're fine. Hey, listen, y'all were rolling, so I was just being quiet. But my whole thought on this was I started to really figure out a long time ago that one, I think it's funny how you refer to yourself as Reese, by the way. Which is good. I always wonder that's amazing. I always like when people have self-talk and they refer to themselves as their nickname. It's good. Yeah. So that was one thing I loved. The other thing I think is that understanding that not everyone, no one, to John's point, thinks like John, right? It's impossible because everyone's so unique. I think morals, discipline, experiences, all of these things come into play during business, during life. No one's stuff, they might kind of align, but there's no way that you can assume that that's exactly what they're thinking. That's why I like John's with the why. I like help. I like these certain words that you can help me understand why you believe that's not malicious or why you think that way. Why do you think, like understanding those type of questions and just not guessing. Because whenever you're putting stuff in that guessing and assumption area, you just leave the variables out to like so many problem areas. And that's why like I attempt when I start to get into that space to try to over communicate, because I just realize that there's no fucking way, because each one of us are individually half crazy in our own way. Motherfuckers don't think like us and we don't think like them. So it's like, and they don't, so it's, you have to over communicate or you're going to lose every time.
But Cory, you know what I did? I was like this, you ain't that fucking sweet. Like, so
no, that too.
I love humbling myself to like, yo, bro, you ain't that sweet. You don't know it all. You have feelings, you make errors. And,
yeah, of course.
You know, I guess that's where I was at.
No, I like it.
You know,
It was good. It was
one thing
said.
I would add real quick is if someone is trying to figure out if another is acting in a malicious way, right? So I always say this: anybody can ask me any question, right? Like you can ask me any question. If someone is up to something and you ask them an honest, respectful question and they get defensive, that is the number one indicator that something is not right. And when I sense that, I start going in harder, because at the end of the day, if we're talking in the setting of business, well, business is all about making informed decisions. So if I ask you a question, you get defensive, and the question was like based on like factual information, something's off. I'm going somewhere. I'm going down a road you don't want me to take you down. So what I do is I keep going down that road, and eventually I will figure out through questioning that you are up to something malicious. But I just would urge the listener to be aware of that, because in situations where I have dealt with people who had ill intentions, it's when they react defensively for no reason.
We seen that not that long ago too, so that's a great point, Johnny. All right, it's time to go to Q&A. Where is the white zebra at?
The white
AKA
zebra is
butt left.
bouncing his way to the microphone.
I haven't heard white zebra.
All right,
in a
everybody,
while.
keep on sending us questions.
Sorry, I should have said butt life, not white zebra. Sorry.
Yeah, butt life.
At Biz and Biceps on Instagram and Twitter. If we use your question on the air, we'll send out a free shirt for you. First question is, you guys stress never count another man's money. I think social media makes it harder for me to have this mindset. Would deleting social media be a helpful strategy for me, or would it be more like sweeping the problem under the rug where it still exists but is just covered up?
I think it would be a great strategy, because I think social media, especially if it makes this problem consistent for you, is fucking worthless. If you are not using your social media to better your business, to market your business, if you're simply living on there for personal or individual reasons, and this is causing you, if you have identified that this is causing you to count another man's money, to be jealous of other people, think about what you're saying. You're saying this tool that I use every day is affecting me negatively. Should I get rid? Absolutely, you should get rid of it. If you had a friend that was affecting you negatively every fucking day and was dragging you down, should you get rid of that? Fuck you. That's not a friend, dude. That's not a friend. So social media ain't being your friend right now. And maybe it's because of your own issues that you need to work out. But here, it's like a drug addiction. Sometimes you need to get rid of people who are good people just because they choose to use. They could really be good people and care about you. But at the end of the day, it's about self-preservation. And if you've identified that this is the thing that twists you up, get fucking rid of it now, period.
I like the honesty of this question or just a statement in general, for somebody to say like, I know I can't quit counting someone else's money. Like, that's an interesting thing to say on the show, because we do say it all the time. And absolutely, you probably need to cleanse yourself of the stimulus that is, sparking this negative emotion, which in this case is social media. Then yeah, I would deactivate your account for a period of time, see if you can work on the issues of why you believe you're doing this, and out of sight, out of mind, man. If it's in front of you all the time and you can't help but feel like a negative ass hater on someone else, then you need to take that stimulus away so you can be a positive person and progress your career. Because if that's a limiting factor, you just keep throwing. It's like having a locomotive train going, and all of a sudden you just throwing cars in front of it every day. You can never pick up no speed. So absolutely, I think you should get rid of it.
I think it's a couple things. I initially thought to one, who are you following? The first thing, because there's a lot of stuff I follow where people don't have money, and it's just like educational stuff or just things that I think that add value to my space. That's one. But then the second one, I think that getting rid of social media is a part of it, but asking yourself, like, why do I get jealous that another man has more than me? And I think that men don't like to answer that question because you may be rooted in a person who values themselves based upon what they have. And if that's where you at in life, I always talk about the thingy person. You know, if I have to value myself and who I am and my self-worth and my personality based upon like where I live at, what things that I have, what cars that I have, like, you know, I'm a fucking loser at the end of the day. And it's not to say that those things can't be accumulated in your life, but that can't be the focal point. Those things need to be a byproduct of just you being a good dude and doing your business. And when they come and manifest, they come and manifest. But I wouldn't, you know, stress myself to make those things come in my life just to add value to myself or to be cool to somebody. I would ask myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like getting to know ourselves is like one of the hardest things in life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to sit back and be entertained by Twitter, Instagram, and all these other means of, you know, social media. But like asking yourself, that's a real question. You know what I'm saying? To sit down and be like, yo, bro, why am I really jealous? But nobody wants to say they're jealous of somebody. You know what I'm saying? Because like it hurts, you know, it like takes away from their supposed coolness. But like, damn, why do I care that he has more money than me, right? And then you start to ask yourself, like, okay, he has a better work ethic, he executes better, he has a better personality. The dude may look better than you, he may be taller, he may be in better shape, all those things. But then that makes you check yourself, and then it makes you to get on your job. But that what that does is that gives you responsibility and things that you have to hold accountable to yourself. And then when you get into that zone of having to check all them boxes off every day, like the other dude does every fucking day that brings him his success, then you'll start to vibe a little bit different and you'll see life a little bit different. But for the sounds of it, like you're just in hater space and cutting the social media, that may be a problem, but you still gonna roll up next to the dude in the light who got the nice car and you still gonna feel that way. Or you still gonna feel like entitled that the guy who doesn't have the same education as you, I'm talking about myself, I may be doing better than you, and you'll feel some way about that. But you got to get to the core root of like why you jealous of other people.
Well said, Mo.
Yeah, for sure. Butt life, Q2.
I work at a financial services firm, and there have been many people quitting, and for good reason. But I believe in the philosophy of not being a little bitch. As many people continue to quit, I wonder at what point does one consider other options before it's too late to leave a sinking ship? If I don't leave, is there a way to bring up a raise in regards to showing my value for being one of the few remaining people?
No. You're not. What you're not talking about is the value you bring to this financial services firm. And although it's noble to be loyal, and I'm sure any leader, boss, manager, etc., will appreciate that. I'm not hearing value. I'm not hearing I'm the leading salesperson. I'm not hearing I'm managing the most money or my goal this year is to be a top 10 producer. I'm just hearing if I stay on the ship, right? If I'm one of the deckhands and everyone's jumping ship, you know, should I get more? No, you shouldn't get more. No, you shouldn't get more. You should do more. You should do more. And this conversation should be framed up around what you're doing. And if what you're doing is increasing and you are finding new ways to do it, better ways, innovative ways, and that production is being reflected, yeah, then you can couple that with loyalty. But if you're just saying, hey, man, I'm walking through the door every day. People are walking out the door, but I'm walking through the door. Should I ask for a raise? Bro, no. Start focusing on walking through the door as default, right? That's the default setting on work, okay? You need to focus on what value am I bringing?
So this is what played in my mind when I heard this. I thought of like a rowboat that's taking on water and you just standing there, but you ain't got a pail. You see what I'm saying? like, and you just wanted a participation trophy because you still standing in the fucking ship that's sinking when all the water's coming in the boat. Nah, motherfucker, if you want to, you want to fucking make a difference to try to help that thing not sink. Here's the deal. Come up with something that makes the whole fucking thing shift. Work more than everyone else. If you really believe in the ship, but see, that's not really what I heard. What I heard was I'm just hanging around to show my loyalty. I know this bitch is sinking anyway. And I'm like prideful about that. Motherfucker, if the thing's sinking, figure out a way not to make it sink. Then you want to get paid. Then you become a fucking real animal in the business because you done shifted the whole like paradigm the other direction to make it successful. That's the shit I would want to be interested in and hear about. And if not, if it's a done sunk ship, you're not getting no fucking extra trophy for 7th place because you're just hanging out while it's sinking.
Man, basically, this sounds like typical millennial bullshit, right? And I deal in a business where I've hired people have left, people have come, right? So what this dude basically just told you was that, hey, I'm gonna stick around, and for me sticking around, and like John said, walking through the door and showing up, I'm hoping he sees that as value, and he's going to pay me more to stay. Like motherfucker, right? Let me start saying right there, right? This should be like prime time opportunity for you to assume different roles, assume different responsibilities, and for you to be the difference maker and the game changer in why the business is going right, right? Millennials have this idea that if you're not kissing my ass, or if you don't have donuts in the coffee room, or if you can't let me vacation as much as I want to, or do work on my own terms, then I'm fucking out of here, right? That's it. That's the exact reason why I shy away from hiring young people, because they just feel entitled. They feel like everything is mine. You owe me more money. I don't want to do more. Motherfucker, you owe me the world. That's the world that we live in. Like, bro, you can go in that place every fucking day, and just like John and Cory said, you can be like, how do I turn this entire fucking place around? How do I recruit better people? It may be a blessing that the people who don't want to be there may be out of there, right? And you need to ask yourself, how can I set the new standard, recruit to the new standard, get people excited about being here, instead of fucking talking shit and writing messages to business and biceps, right? Like straight up.
Buy a fucking donut, Mo.
Man, I'm serious. Like, so this reminded me of like, so we had when I first hired my first year, I hired like, so when you start a company and you first start out, you get a bunch of young people who just believe in your vision, right? And you don't really have standards because you've not established them, because you've not been in business long enough, right? So everybody's happy to loosely come and do what they want to do, even though they may perform, still the environment's loose. But if you want to make money, you have to have standards that you perform into. You have to have accountability. When the accountability comes in place, nobody wants to do that if they've not been in that environment before. So I had a bunch of people last year at one time collectively get together. I seen them on vacation. I thought it was just staff members hanging out. But what they did was like, okay, we just about to quit and say fuck them and hope the person who's in charge of us fails, right? Soon as they quit, soon as they was out of there, it was a bunch of millennials. I said, you know what? We'll never hire like that again. We'll never hire young motherfuckers who don't have responsibilities, who can just drop everything that they have going on and move on. And the people who came in were people who were like, okay, if this is my set of circumstances, I'm building around knowing that this shit is fucked up. Like walking into that environment, into the workplace the next day, like, yo, I know it's fucked up. I know everybody is leaving, but can I build a plan around this to basically right the ship? Do I have goals to right the ship? Do we have performance goals? Do we have attendance at work goals? Can I go to the owner and say, hey man, I know everybody's leaving you, and I know responsibilities are falling through the cracks. What responsibilities can I take off your plate that you don't have to pay me for right now? And can I just deliver and do a great job on them? And you know what? When the ship starts to right, like, and then on top of that, if this motherfucker's leaving, like dumbass, think about this. If this motherfucker's leaving in the financial services industry, that means fucking revenue isn't being generated. So do you think I'm trying to give a raise to a motherfucker in the process of people quitting and revenue going down? Like fucking common sense, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we're not selling no products at max, right? But I'm
Can
here.
I get a raise?
I'm here every day. Can I get a raise? No, you stupid motherfucker. Teach me how to sell these motherfuckers, right? And then I'm gonna find out that damn, this dude Trey is performing very well on his team who's not performing very well. So I'm gonna hook this dude up because we need this motherfucker. Instead of me sticking the gun to your hip like, yo, bro, everybody leaving, I'm still here. Throw me a couple extra dollars. Like, fucking bro. Well, I'm glad you listening. I hope you really like rewind this part and play it slow, because like, I don't know. Next question.
That was amazing.
Q3 butt life.
Sorry for going too long.
With figuring out if I should stay in college. I currently have my own skate company, and I'm unsure if I should drop out to pursue my business more fully or stay in school to possibly learn more that may help with my business. What can school offer me that would be greater than the cost of attendance?
Well, dude, I think he's leaving out the most important thing. And, you know, if he's going to ask a question about should I, you know, pursue my business, my skate company, or should I stay in school? Let's talk some numbers, bro. Let's talk some numbers. Is your skate company your little fucking fantasy that you talk about with your little sister and you guys fucking ride boards down the fucking street and fucking, stroke each other off? Or is it actually a business that makes fucking money? We need to know if this thing is making money. And if you fucking have 3 skateboards, 3 of them are from fucking 1997 and they're all beat up and you're trying to sell them on eBay, your skate company isn't a skate company. But then again, if you have a bustling web store that is making, $50,000 a month, I don't care, even $25,000 a month, and you're taking home $5,000, $7,000 a month in profit, we have something to talk about. But when you're talking about should I quit school or should I do my skate company without numbers, I'm going to assume here, and we just talked about not assuming, but I'm going to assume because it's all I can do because I can't ask you questions right now. I'm going to assume that the numbers aren't there, right? Because if they were there, you would probably say, I got a skate company. It's doing $210,000 a year. I'm in school. Tuition is, with books and my costs every year are $37,000. Can I really get anything more because this skate thing is working and I'm seeing growth? Like, I can't even answer this question if you're not talking about where you're at. You could be a despicable skateboard shop operator. And I don't know. So how can I give you advice if I don't know,
My answer is I don't think I've ever met, young or old, a business person that was a true businessman or entrepreneur that had a business that was showing signs of promise that chose to stay in school and limit it. Like, I just think that's not really a thing. Maybe it's happened before, but I don't know anybody in all these years that I've met that said, oh my gosh, my skate company is doing great. Should I fucking stay in school? Fuck no. They're going to fucking leave. They're not even going to ask this question. So the numbers probably aren't there. It probably is a fantasy, and you probably should stay in school unless you have a real business, because if you had a real business and you were pushing it, then you would know the answer. You wouldn't have to ask us.
And let me tell you,
that sound right, Mo?
Man, bro, sounds absolutely fucking right. I would take, if it's me and I got a serious skate company and I'm really wanting to build this thing, instead of paying tuition, I would say, let me go to the internet, let me find some business consultants, and I would go hire
I like that sound effect. Jeremy, pull that sound effect that Mo did.
That's unique to Maurice Claret.
Yeah. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, the shit ain't hard, bro. Like, go back and listen to our fucking shit. I'm being a little bit more direct today. Fuck the vague subjects at school. If you want to learn how to be a better skateboard operator, like, somebody can help you just with basic business. Am I a good fucking person? Do I got a good web presence? Can I communicate my product very well? Does my shit look good digitally? Right? Am I going to the pro skate shops or to the events like the Arnold? I'm pretty sure that they have shit for skateboarders and extreme sports. You know what I'm saying? Is the clothing around my stuff branded right? You know what I mean? Do I host events around my products that drive people here? Do I know how to do bookkeeping? Do I know how to do accounting? Can I pay my taxes quarterly? Like, school isn't teaching that, bro. I'm sorry. I know it isn't. You know what I'm saying? You're going to sit into a class with like fucking 70 people and you're going to go through a curriculum that they just give basic information. When you're trying to run small business, you need people to consult you specifically on your needs for that business in that area and that environment, and who can help you to drive customers, right? Period, bro. You better off spending your tuition money to a business consultant and getting hooked in with a dude who can basically teach you business. And if it's something, it'll go. If not, go back and sit in the class and learn a bunch of vague shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mic drop. I think it's time for the main event, John.
Fucking A, ring the bell, dude.
All right. So we were going around on our group chat about risk tolerance. And so I'll start it off with you, Mr. Fosco, who has I believe, a high risk tolerance. But I'd just like to hear kind of your thoughts when you even just hear that kind of thrown out, and then we'll throw it to Mo right after.
I think it's a term people hear, but they don't really immerse themselves into it and put themselves in that chair and say, what is my risk tolerance? What is my understanding of risk tolerance? So I guess first off, let's define it, right? So risk tolerance is essentially your level of comfort with giving something up to theoretically get something back. And the key word there is theoretically. There is no guarantee. So the guarantee is that you're giving something up. That's a fucking guarantee. But there ain't no guarantee that it's coming back. So risk tolerance is your ability, essentially, to believe in your decisions and believe in yourself enough to say, what I am giving up is going to come back, and it's going to come back 50 fucking fold, motherfucker, because I have a plan around it that is insane that nobody knows. I don't give a fuck if they understand, but I understand. I've done my homework. I got the people. I know how to make the decisions. So yeah, okay, mom, dad, cousin, sister, friend, this $55,000 that I'm putting out that you guys think I'm crazy, I should put a down payment on a condo or this. No, fuck that. I'm going to use that 55 grand to start something that starts kicking out 250 grand a year. And in 3 years, it's going to be at $1 million. I'm not just talking out of my ass. I'm basing it on a plan I've put in place. So if people want things in this world, and I know most people, they want the house, they want the car, they want the white fucking picket fence, they want to be able to take care of everybody, they want the fucking crew, they want the whatever you want. If you don't have a high risk tolerance, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it, because the ones who get things in life and get to places of just interior achievement, they put their fucking nuts on the table, and nobody knows. Nobody knows when you put your nuts on the table, aka your money and your time. Nobody knows if that's going to return. There is nobody. There is no God. There is no crystal ball. There's nothing. There's no, Mo the wizard that can tell you that you're going to get it back. So you have to be comfortable with the thought of all this time and all this money that I'm going to put out. It may not come back. But here is the separator. Here is the differentiator. Me. I'm the differentiator, and I am prepared, and that's why I'm taking this risk.
Hey, Johnny, I want to, first of all, commend you on the definition. Me and Mo were both here shaking our head like that shit was dead on. So
100%.
great job on that. But go ahead, Mo.
Oh, no. I would like to believe my whole life is a risk talk. Like, my whole life is risky. But it's hard to pivot from what John said, because I really want to say the exact same thing. But what I was asking myself was that, do I really take risk? Because anything I'm interested in, I read on a whole bunch, or I got a plan around it.
It's an educated risk.
It's very educated, but it seems risky to other people because they don't necessarily understand where I'm coming from. But verbatim, I literally wanted to say what John said, but his thoughts made me think about, do I really take risk? But I don't know. Here we go. Let me slow this down to the listeners. I feel like the majority of what I do from the perception of other people is risky, because it doesn't align with what they feel I should be doing or what they understand. But to me, I never feel like I'm taking a risk, because I'm, one, bet that I work my ass off to make something happen. And two, I'll understand enough to where I understand how a sale could be made or a service could be rendered, and I'll get paid for it. And so I'm asking myself, do I take risk or not? I don't know. I'm kind of like perplexed right now. Go ahead.
I got you, Mo.
Does that make sense, John?
Here's the way I'm going to process. I think I got you. So all of our lives are perceived risky as entrepreneurs to most people, because we don't have a quote unquote 9-to-5 type of gig, right?
Yes.
So that's the way that I always, like, outside looking in, I'm like, perceived to the, I guess, a non-business person, entrepreneur, our lives are risky. Here, I think the opposite is risky, because there's no control, right? When you work for someone else, they can walk in the same and go, yo, fucking, you're out today. You can walk in tomorrow and tell the person that works at the Red Zone they're fired. They can't control that at all. You control more because you own the business. So to me, it's the flip side, right? I don't feel like my life's that risky, but when I go through risk tolerance processes, here's the way I process it. I have to look at multiple things, especially you have to look at what is this potential thing that I'm taking on? How is it going to impact my family time?
Oh, yes.
How's it going to impact my personal time, which to me is basically my training time, because I still compete all the time. How's it going to impact the other businesses that we currently run?
Take your time away.
And the money potentially or whatever is going into it in actual time. So I try to run it through that washing machine of understanding what is the potential risk that it hits each one of these areas. And then I look at my squad, right? Like fucking me and Fosco do most everything together. Like our squad is so like at this point has been a proven commodity that you want to bet on, right, Johnny? And so it's like we look at these things and I wash them through all of this stuff. And that's when I come on the other side and say, yo, I'm willing to take this risk because of I know it's going to impact this, this, and this, and this. And I'm willing to trade that in for the potential outcome. By the way, that's most outcomes at this point have been proven at a high level between the squad that I'm rolling with. That's the way that I look at things.
So you talk about the checks and balances that you're running through.
Kinda, yeah.
So my checks and balances are the people 100%. Am I dealing with people who can work their ass off? Am I dealing with people who are competent and educated? Am I dealing with people or am I working with either a product or a service? I told you, everything with me has to be an easy yes. Like if I have to cringe about something, if somebody's telling me to be involved in it, I know that my spirit doesn't naturally align with it, right? But if I'm involved in something and I just know it's an easy yes, I know I can figure out the details of something else. Will this idea make sense long term? Like I don't get into short term shit. Like I don't get I wouldn't be a good guy to sell like widgets and fidgets and things short term or be involved with them just because I just know I don't want. I'm not playing the game where I want to involve myself into something short term. You know, it has to be something long term that people can use for forever, do for forever. And that's just how I want to spend my time investing into stuff that'll be around a long time. I don't know. Those are like my checks and balances. But I tell you like this, more than anything, 90%, probably 95% is the people. Like, because if I don't like a motherfucker, for the most part, I really couldn't. Like, I've not gained that skill yet to be able to tolerate and do business with people I just don't personally want to be around, because I feel like there's so many other ways to make money and do stuff that I could just pass on not being around people. Because like being around people I like are people who make me smile, or I make them smile, or we're happy around each other is of like great value to me. So that's like my little washing machine that I throw things through.
When you said, Mo, that you don't know if you are a risk taker or you were kind of caught up on that, the answer is 100% yes, because you put up your time and money and you create systems or co-create systems. And that is the definition of risk, because risk is something, putting your time into something that is not fucking proven. And I think the reason...
I got you. Based on the definition, I got you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason people view it as risky is because they see what's easy to see. They see the money and the time, right? Oh, you're going to spend your time doing this and you're going to put your, money into this. They don't care, nor do they want to know, nor should they want to know your fucking detailed plan that you could probably describe for 48 hours straight. That's why people view it as risky, because they look at the money and the time. And so they think you're a fucking lunatic, because when they run the money and the time through their filter, they don't have that other piece, which is the most important piece of how I'm going to de-risk this risk. And I think when you're taking a risk to take in another direction, it's all about, like, to me, like the how and why test. So if I really appreciate people, I call shooting bullets at me, right? So if I have a business model that I'm thinking about going in on, I want smart people who can hit me with hows and whys. How are you going to do that? Okay, why is someone going to want to spend the money? How are you going to compete with that company? What makes you different? Why are you different? Why is that a good price? Like, I want someone to absolutely fucking like AK-47 my ass into a wall. And if I can survive that process,
you got something.
Absolutely. That means I got
the firing squad. If you get through the firing squad and you're on the other side, you're still alive. It's got some.
Yeah, but you got to be very careful. You're damn right. But you got to be very careful about who you draft to pull that trigger on the firing squad because dumb motherfuckers ask dumb questions, and smart motherfuckers who have done it before know how to hit you in spots that you aren't expecting. And it's the ability to fucking roll off those shots and have correct answers that prove to yourself that you're ready. And I think this whole process, at least that I'd like to introduce to the listener, of put yourself in front of someone who you view as really smart and who's done it before, and let them, and just say, let it go on me. Literally, talk to me like my idea is insane and I have to prove it to you over the course of this hour. Hit me with any question you could think of. Like, that is the best practice you could ever put into play if you're going to put your money up.
You know, go ahead, Mo.
I would suggest to what you said, John. I would suggest to do it to an active entrepreneur, no matter what level that they're at. Like an active business owner, small business owner, let that person drill you with questions, because they're going to be able to speak to you in ways about business that you just can't see or you don't even think of, but things that you will need and to have control over in order to implement the idea, run the idea, manage. You know, there's a difference between getting the idea off the ground and then running the idea. And that person being able to hit you with that stuff either lights fire to your ass to get an area up and running that you may not have been aware of, or they'll just let you know where you stand. You may feel good about an idea, but you may not be able to execute it based upon your inaccuracy of information that you don't have.
Well, and what I had this actually happen on accident the other day. I have a friend of mine that is excited about a potential franchise opportunity, and the emotion of the opportunity and the thought of it is what was carrying the conversation. So what I started doing was what Johnny said, kind of just by natural, because I've got more business experience. I started firing bullets at him that I knew he 1000% hadn't thought about yet. And I hit him with like 4 or 5, and he was like, oh shit. Yeah, I never thought about that. Oh shit. Yeah, no, I don't even know that answer. Oh shit, I don't know that number. I'm not sure of this. I said, you see what I'm saying? And you're talking about this costs X amount of 100,000 to get in. Like, you got to know all of that plus like 20 more I ain't even hit you with. And so I think that is an absolute great way to approach it, John. You're dead on a lot of this stuff, man.
I tell you what. No, I tell you what. And it's not to get discouraged. I want to say this for the listener. It's not to get discouraged if you don't have all the answers, but it's just to readjust.
And find them.
Readjust. What is it called? What is that thing? The landing strip, right? What is it called? The takeoff strip when the plane leaves? The air mat.
Mo, when you're talking about the landing strip, bro, I think you're going. I think your mind's on, the good stuff,
Yeah. So like, don't like. So I tell everybody all the time, don't build a plane in the sky. You know what I'm saying?
That'd
like,
be a problem.
Yeah. Go ahead and take the feedback from that person. Equip yourself a little bit better, prepare a little bit better, then come back to Cory and then have those answers, or go to somebody and then let them ask you again. But I'm telling you, be in a rush to get something right. Don't be in a rush to get something started, because getting something started in your first impression that you're trying to make on somebody in business can be fucking horrible. If you just pull the reins back and say, okay, I wanted to launch this thing in January, but I'm not prepared. It'll be a better launch in April. I'll have better customer service, supply chain. My labeling will be better. My products will be better. My team for advertising will be better. My building may be better. I may have saved up more money for a better carpet and better paint for the walls, and it'll just be a better impression. But I really believe that we're caught into the age, just like my man did on the questions and answers, that everybody is in a fad to say that they're in business for themselves, for the look and for the notoriety, rather than the, hey, I'm doing this, or I'm building a business to sustain for myself for an extended period of time, like to build it for righteous reasons in comparison to building it for show, just because Joe Blow down the block is doing great.
Because you want to put entrepreneur in your IG profile.
Bro, man.
Yeah. And one other thing I would add, on risk tolerance is, even if you have a great idea, I think where a lot of people get tripped up is they can have a good idea that actually, here's what's crazy. That's why we talk about the term, the top line and the bottom line. You can have a great idea and it can actually work, But because when you went into it, you were so obsessed with the idea, you didn't calculate your gross operating margin, AKA your profit. So you're buying something for $1.50 and you're selling it for $2.10. Dude, you can't stay in business that way. So when you're evaluating risk tolerance, you really have to dial into, what am I thinking about? What is the all in, dude? What is the cost of goods sold? What is that? You know, people refer to them as COGS. What is that? And then what am I selling it for? Right. So if you're making an energy drink and it costs $2, you're fucked. You're fucked. Yeah. I can go to the 7-Eleven and get Monster for $2.20. Dude, how are you as the new guy going to come out, pay $2 for your can of whatever it is, and sell it for $3.50? What are you going to outsell Red Bull and Monster? Are you fucking kidding me? You could have the best formula in the world. It can make my fucking dick grow, and I could be 6'8", but it doesn't matter. You're not
might be able
going
to sell that for $3.50.
But people ain't gonna buy it. People ain't gonna buy it. I mean, it's something that I think people overlook when they say, "Wow, this idea is great," but they don't break down what it costs versus what it could be sold at.
Hey, I think we got to wrap it up. We went a little long, but I got to tell you guys, great job on the topics today. I think that between the Q&A and here in our segments, there was a ton of value and takeaways. So good job today, Johnny. Good job today, Mo.
Yeah, absolutely. Same to you guys.
Mo, is brought to you by CommonBond, huh?
CommonBond is the only place to refinance your student loan debt. CommonBond saves on average $24,000 over the lifespan of the loan. If you haven't, you need to go to commonbond.co/biceps. They'll know that we sent you just if you put the /biceps, and they'll save you on average $24,000 over the lifespan of your loan. I always say it, take the 10 minutes that you did to get in debt, take another 10 to 15 to put your information inside the application so you can refinance it and save yourself $24,000. And with that being said, back to you, Cory Gregory.
Maurice Claret.
Yes.
Johnny Fosco. Can the podcast be stopped? The podcast, can it be stopped?